Hi there. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is John Carini. I'm the CEO and product manager here at Social Smart Software, and we're very excited to have you here on the call today. Today we will discuss the regulatory environment for social media and give our audience an overview and demonstration of our iComply solution. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to join today. We recognize also that you are forward thinkers in the financial and banking industry, and that you understand the value of social media and the importance of compliance while using it. Recently, the FFIEC published guidance indicating social media was an acceptable medium to disseminate information to shareholders. With this guidance has come some challenges. Social media has made communicating with customers and shareholders both easier and more difficult. It can help build your brand image or tear it down with one click. We've recently witnessed some events in social media that have been both good for the marketplace as well as bad for brand reputations. And we must realize that the information we share is no longer self-contained, and that can magnify each and every mistake. We will show you during the webinar how iComply helps mitigate these risks while helping you leverage social media for engagement. Okay, so it seems that the majority of registrants have logged in, and I'd like to get started with the demonstration. There is a section in the Join Me webinar where you can ask questions, and at the end of the presentation, we will address as many questions as possible. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, first of all, some introductions. My name is John Carini. I'm here in the middle. I'm the product manager at Social Smart Software. Also on the call is John Redmond, our compliance director, and Joe Luzzi, our marketing manager. So most companies face several challenges when dealing with social media today, especially companies in highly regulated industries. Archiving is a typical problem, as well as inappropriate or off-brand posts. Many organizations would like to see more use by marketing and even more use by the rank-and-file employees, so long as it doesn't hurt or damage their reputation or brand. There are other problems, and most companies have sidelined social media, at least to some degree, because of regulatory issues in this space. Before we get into the social media marketplace and regulatory environment, I'd like to give you a little rundown about our company. Our company is Social Smart Software. We're actually part of a larger organization called iEnterprises, and iEnterprises has been in business since the mid-90s. We're the recipients of numerous awards. We have several Fortune 500 customers, and some of the logos are on the right. We also have some smaller customers, especially in the banking industries. We believe we are leaders in social software, and we have deep industry expertise with many of the executives having long careers in financial services and pharma. Okay, so as you probably know by looking around you, social media is becoming the primary outlet for disseminating information to customers. And here's a chart that shows how it's been growing. It's actually adding 1.3 trillion to the economy today. There's over 1 billion users on Facebook. And as of today, Facebook is the most popular U.S. website. 65% of the time on the web is actually spent on social media. I find that absolutely outrageous. And 80% of people on the web are using social media, including 90% of 18 to 24s, 40% of those use mobile devices, and so on. There's actually over 1 billion tweets a week, so it certainly has taken hold. In addition, many are already using it, including several individuals in highly regulated organizations. And some of the more famous ones are depicted here on the screen. That said, social media is already costing enterprises money, and here's a study done by Symantec that says that the typical enterprise is losing $4 million over the last 12 months through social media, and that's in various manners, including reduced stock price, litigation costs, as well as direct financial costs and damaged brand, and so on. So if you ignore it, it can cost you money. I think that's what this says. And furthermore, I think it says you can't ignore it. And there's a little line there that says Gartner says that 50% of all companies have already been asked to produce material from social media and websites. Social media websites for e-discovery. So I think that ignoring social media is like making believe the internet doesn't exist. And, that was done by some highly regulated companies in the early days of the internet. So we all need to recognize that this new outlet is extremely important, in my opinion. So why do we need to recognize this outlet is important? It's because it's a competitive advantage. It's a very effective and inexpensive way to communicate. It's becoming the primary outlet for communicating directly with customers. It's where they are. So you need to communicate with the customers where they are and the way they want. And we believe companies must leverage social media or they will be left behind. That said, companies must be compliant. It's not an option with all the various rules and regulations, and we'll go into more depth about those rules and regulations in just a moment. So it also has risks. I mean, even beyond the regulatory issues, there are risks for brands, and there have been several mistakes made in the past. A few of them are up here on the screen. One was a mistake made by StubHub, where the employee thought they were logged into their personal social media account, but in fact they were logged into the company's account. KitchenAid had a similar problem, and then there's one here by Kenneth Cole as well. So these were unfortunate mistakes that could have been prevented by software like iComply. It also has risks for personalities, and we see this, it seems like, multiple times a day. Various personalities are getting in trouble on social media. I won't go into each and every one of these, but you can just look at the newspaper and you'll see them fly by every day. There's also been a few interesting regulatory situations with social media. One of them at the top of the screen that's particularly interesting is Netflix. So the Netflix CEO actually posted ahead of earnings on social media and basically indicated that they would do well. And the SEC actually investigated this posting, and I'll talk a little bit more about what the outcome of that was. Also, Francesca Holdings, CFO, was fired for posting ahead of earnings on social media. There were similar issues with Vodafone and Tesla. However, Tesla did not the SEC did not investigate, and that was because of the outcome of the Netflix investigation, which I'll talk about right now. So there's obviously various regulatory agencies that we're all beholden to, and there's various rules and regulations that have implications for social media. That one Netflix investigation actually resulted in the first bullet point here on the slide. So SEC 2013-51 basically said that social media was okay, and it was fine for dissemination of information. However, you need to archive, and it needed to follow the same rules as all other forms of marketing. So that seems like a trend, and when we talk about the FFIEC in a moment, we'll hear more about that. There was also a risk alert that's here, and it says you need a compliance program, archiving, approval, and monitoring as well. And it actually said that the like in Facebook, when you like something, can be treated as a third-party endorsement. So that was an interesting document. And then FINRA had some guidance. 11-39 says you need archiving as well as supervision or monitoring. FINRA 1006 talks about archiving and triggers. It also indicates that you are not responsible for third-party posts. And then there was the FFIEC final guidance on social media, and this is very recent. It was in December of last year, and I have a whole slide about that. The FFIEC basically said that that social media was governed by the same rules and regulations as other marketing materials, and that December article that they published had no additional information in it. It, however, restated the existing policies and procedures that the FFIEC had in place and how they related to social media and how to handle social media given that. And there's a few items here that we created in a checklist, and our product, iComply, can assist you with dealing with all of these areas indicated on the FFIEC document. So one is governance and structure. So you need a way to moderate and govern what goes on. You need policies and procedures, and you'll see how iComply can actually automate those. You should train your employees, and software allows you. Our iComply software allows assistance with that and allows you to publish information to your employees for use on social media. You need an oversight process or monitoring, and of course you need audit and compliance as well as reporting, typically also for auditing purposes. So all this was kind of reiterated in that December document produced by the FFIEC, and we'll show how the product can handle all of these different areas in just a moment. So as I mentioned, we feel that iComply is the solution, and iComply is our social media compliance product. It's a flexible and complete solution that allows archiving of social media, and it's able to archive everything. We'll talk more about that in a minute. It allows you to quickly and easily interact with social media, and actually provides the ability to post to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter with scheduling and recurring posts and convenient features as well. And it's actually able to capture non-compliant posts or off-brand posts before they ever hit. So many of the solutions in the marketplace today are monitoring tools, and they're only capable of capturing information after it has already appeared on social media. And even if it appears for just a few seconds, if it's a non-compliant post, it basically you're out of compliance. So you need to prevent those things from ever happening. Not only that, but all of those posts that were in my deck prior to this, they were obviously removed. However, they live on today, in screenshots and so on the internet. So it's really unacceptable to have a non-compliant post ever hit. And it's got some pre-approved content that helps you do that. It's got full mobile functionality as well, so you can use the product from your mobile device. And it's highly configurable, and you can set the policies that are within your social media policies as well as within the software for whatever you desire, and I'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Topology is as follows. So we actually have the iComply solution in the cloud. It can also be deployed on-premise if that's your preference, but basically our iComply product sits in between you and social media. And you're able to log in directly into iComply using your laptop or mobile phone. You can also go straight to like www.facebook.com or LinkedIn or Twitter. Go directly to these sites and interact with social media either through our interface or through the native interfaces that you're used to. And everything that you do is automatically sent through this iComply server or our social media compliance solution. It's actually able to pick out bad posts and prevent them from ever appearing on social media. That can be through blacklisted words, like if there's the word guarantee, for instance, in a post, it can be stopped. Or perhaps you have a rule that says all pictures must be manually reviewed, or maybe you want all posts, regardless of their content, to be manually reviewed by your compliance department. You can set up the solution to do that. Bottom line is iComply sits between your users and the social media sites themselves, thus preventing any off-brand or non-compliant posts from ever hitting the public social media sites. Very important. Okay, back to archiving. So everything you do is archived. Also, all of the comments that third parties put on posts that you create are automatically archived within the solution. And then, of course, you can go back and search and find all of the archived information. For instance, you can just run a report that says, show me all social media information from a specific month, and it'll just show the report on the screen, or you can download it to a PDF and give it to an auditor or whatever is appropriate. It is very configurable, and it can also support your existing archiving solution. So if you have an archiving solution in place, and you probably do, we can integrate with that through various methods, and we're happy to do that. So it can work with that as well, so you only have one place with all of your archived information. Okay, so archiving is very robust. It's very easy to use, and it actually makes it easier to interact with social media. I mentioned it before. You can actually post to LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter simultaneously. You can pick from pre-approved content. So if there's certain content that you want your users to post, you can actually publish it out to them, and then they can't mess it up because it was pre-written for them. You can also use templates to do quick entry, and I mentioned before you can have recurring posts or scheduled posts, so you can have them pop up at a certain time and date based on your marketing requirements. And then all posts are automatically screened, and that's really important. You can even add disclosures to posts. So if you're having a contest or something on social media and you need to add a disclosure that says employees are not eligible and so on and so forth, you can actually append a URL to the post, and you can actually maintain the disclosures within the system as well. So it's very handy for that. But the real brains of the system is this, there's like a workflow engine or a rules engine built into the product. And you can set this up any way you like. If you'd like a certain workflow process attached to all social media posts, you can configure it here. Example that I mentioned before would be if a post had a bad word, perhaps you want to automatically reject it. So, or perhaps if it has the word guarantee, you want a manual review by one or even two or three people. It's really up to you. You can set up the system like that. You can screen pictures, for instance. Any attachments that come through can be screened. And then you can actually alert people any way you like as well. So the typical way that goes is you alert people when there's a new item waiting. So maybe if the compliance officer has an item waiting for them and it requires their manual approval, they can just do that. So anyway, other things that you can do, you can route it to one or multiple departments. And it doesn't really matter. It can come from a web browser or a mobile device. And I mentioned those disclosures. The rules engine actually is able to append those disclosures, and that's what does it. I mentioned before there's complete mobile support, and we have a mobile client that you can use with the application, and that mobile client allows you to, wherever you are, work with iComply, whether you're a user that's at a maybe a picnic or something and you want to post a picture, you can do that from the mobile device and it goes through the same screening and rules process. Or maybe you're a compliance officer or someone who approves posts. You can also do that from the mobile device as well. And that's really important because you really want to keep the real-time aspect of social media. And being able to approve from a mobile device is sometimes critical in that regard. Great. So I'll talk a little more about the mobile later. So bottom line is iComply creates a competitive advantage. It gives you the ability to archive and conform with the various regulatory problems, and that lets you use social media with little or no risk, and that results in better communication with your prospects and customers, and that leads to increased sales and profitability. And I'll make that analogy one more time. Not using social media is like making believe that the internet doesn't exist. It's like saying that we have no need for the internet and we will not post any marketing materials to the internet. Keep in mind that more than half the time spent on the internet is actually spent in social media. So that analogy, I think, holds true, at least the way I see it. So I will jump into the live demo. Let me just get my computer ready for that. Okay, great. So I will log into the iComply middleware server now. Let me get this over here. Great. Okay, so this is the actual iComply login screen, and I will log in as what is an ordinary user named James Person. Okay, and you can see as I log in, you can see that on the left side of the screen are all my social media accounts. So James Person has a Facebook account, a Twitter account, a personal one, a LinkedIn account, and then James also has the capability to post to the company Facebook page, and you can restrict that as needed. And also you can put the company Twitter site if you like here, as well as the company LinkedIn page. And then in the middle here is what we call the stream. And this is like a combination of all social media posts from all of my accounts on the left-hand side here. And it happens, so it has some Facebook posts, some LinkedIn posts, and some Twitter posts all in here, and you can kind of search and sift through it and use it any way you like. So it's very handy. And then up at the top is actually where I put in my posts, and I can just write an ad hoc post and send it out, and I'll just do that. I'll do the simple example first. So social media is critical in today's. It's kind of the point of my whole presentation. Social media is critical in today's world. And I'd like to send this post to my personal Facebook. I'll also send it to my company's Facebook page, my Twitter account, as well as my LinkedIn account. So I'll send it to all of them, and you can have more. And by the way, this is a multi-user system, so each and every one of your employees can have a login in this system and have their own personal social media accounts, and if you desire, you can let them post to your company accounts, but I would restrict that very heavily. Anyway, the simple example, I type in a post and I just click post. Okay, and you'll see the queue says 40, and if I refresh the screen, you'll see it actually went up to 41. So I'm here as James Person, and if I go to my queue, you'll see that there is a post waiting for approval from my boss, and that's because we actually said that anything that has the word social in it needs to be screened by the compliance department. And what I'll do now is I'll just quickly log out, and then I'll log in as the compliance officer that typically approves this post. So I'll log out, and I mentioned it was a multi-user system. Sorry. Okay, I'll log in with the extra authority, and it looks very much the same, except when I go to the queue, you'll see that the post that James just created is sitting here in the queue, but as the compliance officer, I actually have the ability to approve or reject these posts. And I will just go ahead and approve it. Keep in mind that you can have a multi-step process if you like. If once the compliance officer approves it, perhaps you want marketing or legal or something like that to look at it. You can have a very simple process that has one or even no approval or only approval with attachments or bad words, or you can have like a more complex process. But anyway, I will approve this. And you can see I approved it, and it actually went off the queue. And I'll actually go out to the social media sites now, and we'll have a look. So here's James Person's page, and if I refresh the screen, you'll see that post literally just showed up on social media. So upon approval, it showed up here in Facebook. If I refresh my Twitter page, you'll see it's here as well. There's a lot of stuff here. And then on LinkedIn sometimes takes a little while, but it's here as well. So you can see that the post is actually easily and automatically sent out to all the social sites through iComply, but only after it's deemed compliant, which is the critical issue. So I had mentioned before that you can either create posts from within iComply, or you could create posts from the native UIs of the social media sites themselves. So if I'm James Person and I'd like to make a post, I can actually go in here and do it directly from within Facebook. So I don't have to go through iComply. And I'll put another post, media post directly from Facebook UI. Okay, so I'll make a social media post right here in my Facebook UI, and I'll click post, and you'll see that this special prompt comes up, and it actually says that the post has been submitted to iComply. So I put the post directly into Facebook. However, it's getting routed through iComply to ensure that it is compliant before it appears on the social media sites. So I'll refresh the screen. You'll see it is not here, right? The last post is this post, and it's actually waiting for approval inside of iComply. So let's go and look at that. So here I am logged in to iComply as the compliance officer again. If I refresh the screen, you'll see that the post that came from James directly from Facebook is actually sitting here waiting for my approval, and that's because, again, it has the word social in it. And, you know, words like guarantee would be a more realistic example. I'll go ahead and approve this one too, and you'll see that if I refresh the screen here, that the post is now actually here right in I actually approved two there. The post is actually sitting here in Facebook. So users of iComply can use either the native UI of the social media sites themselves, or they can use the iComply interface that we provide, as well as mobile, which I'll show a little screenshot of the mobile client a little later. But so now that we've seen the basic situation, you know, where someone puts in a post, user puts in a post, and then there's a simple approval process, I'll explore some of the more advanced features of the product. We saw the queue, and something I'll mention is iComply actually handles not only outbound information, but also inbound information. And there's the notion of the in-queue and the out-queue. And the in-queue actually allows you to monitor mentions of your company name on social media or your person name. And you can see here I'm actually monitoring Passaic Financial Bank, and someone mentioned Passaic Financial Bank on social media, it's actually able to pick that up. And if that's deemed to be a problem that needs a resolution, maybe if they didn't have a good experience at Passaic Financial Bank, can actually turn around and the system can assign it to someone and give it a status. And some of the guidance from the regulatory agencies say that you need to deal with the problems that occur on social media and handle them in a fashion to try to resolve them for your customers. So you can actually put an internal comment. So you can say, assigned this to the local branch, and it was resolved, or something like that. And then upon closure, you can just say, this problem is closed. So it gives you a way to handle inbound information as well, whether it be from Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn. That information is surfaced in here. You can run reports and search all that information and then deal with it as needed. So that's a cool feature. Going back to some of the more advanced features around posting. So before we saw a user go in and just type an ad hoc post, but there's other options and features around that. One is, I can obviously attach a picture. I can do that from the mobile client as well. I can also click to open up the content library, and you'll see here that my administrator has actually published some content for me as a user to select from and post myself. And the example we put in here is an example of loan rates. You would never want to get loan rates incorrect in social media because obviously you'd have to honor the rate, whatever it might be. Seems like a really good rate, though, here. So I got this post from my administrator, and notice that I cannot edit it. Okay, this is pre-approved content, and when I click post, it'll go immediately out to social media because it actually went through the approval process before it appeared in the content library. Other great features I mentioned before, you can actually schedule posts. You can have them recur, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of extra features you get in interacting with social media by using iComply. Just very quickly, jumping into the archive. So I'm actually logged in as the administrator now, and everything that's posted gets put here in the archive. All social media gets put here in the archive. And then I can turn around and I can search the archive, with an ad hoc search, and then I can actually save it, and then based on saved searches, have reports, and those reports can actually generate PDFs and or just show on the screen however you like. So I actually just reran a report, and I could edit the report and change it, but basically this report shows all my December posts on social media, and you'll see here they are. Actually includes images too. I don't have any on the screen, so it's a pretty nifty reporting system as well. In the library, I showed how to select the pre-approved content. So you can actually create the pre-approved content here in the content library, assuming you have administrative rights. And then I'll dig a little bit deeper, and this is going to get a little deep, but inside the settings, you can actually manage the system. And I mentioned before, it's actually a multi-user system, and you can configure all of your users here in the solution. And you can provide all of your users logins to the solution that has whatever workflow you like. There's a blacklist, and I won't show that, so you can put blacklisted words in there. We actually give you like a list of 1,500 words with words like guarantee and so on. That you can set up. And then there's the rules engine. And I mentioned before, the rules engine is really the brains of the product. And you can see here that you can set up rules that appear based on various events. So if someone posts to social media, for instance, you can trigger a rule, and that rule could notify the approver if the content needs approval. Or if someone comments on one of your posts on social media, you can be notified of that. When your boss rejects one of your posts or approves one of your posts, you can be notified, and then on like, and then as well as new inbound items. So if someone mentions your company name on social media, you can actually trigger an email that automatically goes out to everyone, or goes out to you, so you know there's a new item waiting for you in this in queue, so you can deal with what's being said about you on social media. Very important. So we actually have IBM Connections integration as also. I won't go into that. I mentioned the disclosures. So you can append the disclosure to any post through that rules engine. And if I open one up, it's what you would expect. You know, it's like one of these rules and regulation documents that can be appended to your posts. And, you know, there's actually some companies that want these disclosures posted or attached to all social media communications, and this system allows you to do that very quickly and very easily. There's schedules for pulling information in, and then you can actually control what people do on the Facebook sites, the actual native site. So if someone goes to Facebook and they're using iComply and they enter a status update, you can actually either send it to iComply or block it. Or maybe you want to block the likes. So remember, one of the regulatory agencies, I believe it was the SEC, said that the like can actually be a third-party endorsement. You can block like on Facebook if you like. For your iComply users, and you can do similar things with Twitter. You know, what do you want to do when someone tweets? Do you want to send it through iComply, make sure it's compliant, and then and only then allow it to be posted? I would recommend that. But you can also just block it outright. You can make them use iComply for all their tweets. You can block when you follow people. Similar capabilities in LinkedIn. You can decide what you want to do with status updates and comments and so on. So it's very robust. So, you know, I think I've gone through most of the areas of the solution, and I'd like to just mention our mobile client too. And I don't have the mobile demo on today. But I do have some screenshots of the mobile client. And here they are on the screen. And you can see this is an actual app that you download from the App Store and you load here on your mobile device. And then the app is very similar to what you saw on my screen in the web browser. You get your stream here, and then you can actually post directly from the device itself. And then, of course, you can invoke the camera and take a picture and post that. And everything you do goes through that same approval process, so you can be confident that the only things that make it out to the social media sites are compliant. You can even approve from the device as well, and that's very, very handy. So if you're an approver and somebody enters a post and then it goes through a workflow that requires your manual approval, you can actually jump in on your mobile device and perform that approval. Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll take questions, and I think we've gotten a few questions in the chat. But if you do have additional questions, please enter them in the chat portion of Join Me, which it looks like a little pop-up bubble that you can ask questions on. And what I'll do is I'll go through a few questions that have already come in, and while I'm answering those questions, please feel free to ask some more. So one of the questions is, what hardware, if any, is required to run iComply? So iComply is a cloud-based solution that only really requires an internet connection. It can be placed on-premise If you have a requirement to have the product on-premise, that can be done, or it can interface with an on-premise archiving solution. So bottom line is, all you really need is a web browser or a mobile device to use iComply. There's not really anything to install. So hopefully that answered your question. And then somebody asked what IT requirements are there to integrate with our current technology platform. I really can't explain exactly how that could be done, but I will say that iComply is a very flexible solution that typically fits well in any IT infrastructure. So maybe I'll have my contact information at the end. If you could shoot me an email on that, it would be great. And then another question is, can iComply modify and notify me when specific Twitter hashtags are mentioned? That's a great question because I forgot to cover that in the demo. So yes, you can actually set up the system to monitor specific hashtags. So in the settings, you can actually put the hashtags that you'd like to follow with our product in place, and then you can even be notified when people mention those hashtags through the rules engine. And then you can even, if you'd like, turn it into an issue. So if there's a certain hashtag that is an issue for you, you can then assign the issue within our solution to an employee, and off you go. Another one, how long does it take to set up and get a small group of employees up and running using iComply? So it's typically pretty easy. What we do is we typically work with you either remotely or on site, and we try to understand what you desire your social media policies and procedures to be. And then based on what, and maybe you already have them written down in some document form, that's very helpful. Then what we do is we configure the solution based on your desires, and we turn over a completely configured solution for you to use. So then, we maybe have a quick 1-hour training session, and you can actually then turn around and use the product pretty quickly. Typically, we just bring up a few users in like a pilot program at first, and then we expand from there. Also, like we typically have a more restrictive workflow policy at the beginning. So typically, it'll require multiple manual approvals when you first deploy the product, and then you might want to ease up and just say, hey, we trust that the employees are following the policies a little more closely, and now perhaps we only want to have blacklisted words require manual review, or pictures require manual review, and allow everything else to go out. But it's really up to you. It can be a complex approval process or not. We help you figure that out, and then we set up the solution to match that social media policy and process that you want in place for your company. And then there's a good one. Is it suitable for non-financial sector companies or non-highly regulated companies? And I believe it is. I think it's just as important to manage your brand as as anything else in marketing. So it's obviously extremely important to make sure you're not out of compliance with the various regulatory agencies. That's absolutely critical. However, you want to prevent mistakes from happening on social media as well, and you want to prevent your brand being misrepresented, because that can also be very costly. So from a branding perspective, yes, I believe it makes sense for any company using social media, and as I mentioned before, I feel all companies should use social media. So that's the end of the question session. I actually have my picture on the screen as well as my email address, and if you do have additional questions, we would love for you to give a shout out and to shoot us an email. The website is also www.isocialsmart.com. You can actually sign up for a free trial there if you want to try the product. and see how it works. But please do reach out if you have any questions at all, and thank you so much for your time today. This concludes the webinar. Morning.